Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr and welcome into another video. Today I am sharing a collection of cards that are staycation themed using My Monthly Hero Hero Arts August release add-ons. So these are all add-ons from the August release and I absolutely love them. The bold prints backgrounds are especially amazing this month. I say that I think every month. I'm a huge background stamp fan, and we are going to be doing a little customization on all of the cards by die cutting dies from white cardstock and then adding color with Copic markers. For this first one, I am using the August Word Fancy die. How amazing is this? Palm trees out of the letter A and the letter T, and then water that comes out of the loop in the letter G. I love this. This is a perfect opportunity to take your favorite coloring medium and customize this sentiment, I guess you want to call it, but the date. Think about scrapbooking. If you are a scrapbooker or a Project Life type of memory keeper, this would be great for the month of August in your books. In fact, Hero Arts comes out with a month die every single month with their My Monthly Hero add-ons, and they are fantastic. I'm actually going to use this on a card. I think it's great if you're sending the card in the month of August, or maybe it's an August birthday, anniversary, you know, whatever the occasion might be. Isn't this so much fun? I am going to color this in. I have listed the marker colors there across the bottom of my screen. Keep in mind, you're not going to see me do this on camera. I did it later. The loop in the letter G, I kind of did all that water in my shades of blue. That's B34 and 37. And the letter G gets lost in that. As I was working on my additional cards, this is the one I created first, and it was sitting on my desk in front of me. I really was like, that looks like an A, really. And so to fix that, I'm actually going to pull my red markers down, and then I'm just going to go over it with my lightest blue marker a little bit more, and it gives it the illusion that that letter G is down submerged in the water. It actually ended up perfect, and I really love that. So keep in mind that is the one little difference there. You're going to see that at the end of the video, also in the photos there I shared a minute ago of this, that is the difference with this card. Now, to give this a little bit more dimension, because we're going to put it against a stamped and embossed background, and I really want it to have a prominent look on the card, I actually die cut 3 more layers of this August Fancy Cuts die from smooth white cardstock. I'm gluing them one on top of another, and then we're going to finish with our Copic colored die cut. I'm using a little Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. I have a Scrap Perfect fine tip applicator on the top, which is perfect for a die like this. Next, we are taking some Hero Arts Mist cardstock, and we are going to stamp this with the brand new Pool Party Bold Prints background. This is a great background. I used it, yes, just stamping and embossing, but the images are so nice and prominent. I think this would look incredible colored in. I'm really hoping to get to a couple more cards this month, sharing ideas on coloring the background stamps. This one, and then the little luggage tags that I'll show you here in a minute. They would be phenomenal, colored in with watercolors, Copics, whatever your favorite coloring medium is. I have stamped this with clear embossing and watermark ink. I'm heat embossing with the Hero Arts White Fine Detail Embossing Powder. Look at the detail. It's so cute and fun. It's the perfect kind of subtle background. To add a little more dimension to the edges, I did take the Hero Arts Sea Salt Reactive ink, and I'm applying that around the edges of my panel. It just simply softens those edges a little bit. My panel measures, oh, I don't want to get this wrong, 3 3/4 by 5. So we're going to be able to mat it on a 4 by 5 1/4 inch panel of nautical cardstock. Next, we need our final elements for the card, which is going to be this darling lounging pup. He is in his little pool float sipping a cool beverage. I think this was probably my favorite stamp set. I'm a huge dog lover, pet lover, just of any pet, and I thought they were so funny. I love that there's one in a flamingo, and there's this little guy in his pool float, and then the pup swinging in a hammock reading a book. I'm going to do a card with that as well. I'm a huge book lover. I love to read, and so that one really just kind of spoke to me, but such fun images. I stamped him on smooth white cardstock with the intensified black ink from Hero Arts. This is a fantastic ink for Copic coloring or any of your alcohol ink coloring. I have again listed the Copic marker colors I am using to color in this image across the bottom of my screen. I did keep to the same color scheme for all of my cards today. So while they all might share components and kind of an overall feel where we're stamping and embossing the backgrounds and things like that, I am using a ton of the add-ons this month. In fact, really quick, I am using 7 of the add-ons. That's a lot of add-ons to use for 3 cards. They are phenomenal. Everything you're seeing on these cards is brand new. Cute little pool float. I purposely went with red so it would be a nice pop of color, or a little pool. Maybe it's just a little pool, not a float. One of those little inflatable pools. Something that would pop against the background and tie in really nicely to our August colored sentiment. Some nice earth tones for our pup. And then a little yellow like he's sipping maybe a lemonade. Red for the straw. And some really light blues in B00 and 01 for the glass. Then we're going to die cut him with the coordinating Lounging Pups die. Also from Lounging Pups, we're going to stamp Enjoy a Little Pause, which is so cute. I love the little play on words there. On some Hero Arts nautical cardstock using the Hero Arts Embossing and Watermark ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. I went with the nautical as opposed to a black just to tie in to the blues of our background. In fact, choosing to stamp and emboss this on the nautical cardstock, which is the perfect dark navy, by the way, I love this color, it really inspired me to mat my whole panel on the nautical cardstock because I think that really frames up this scene perfectly and makes it pop. Once I've done that, I did go ahead and grab a Simon Says stamp die from my stash. We're going to be using one of the nested banners dies to die cut our sentiment. You can also use your paper trimmer, your scissors, another shape kind of border die, whatever you want to do there to die cut your card. I personally love the banner dies, whatever manufacturer they come from, just because they give a really clean finished edge. Then we're ready to put it all together. And to do that, I am going to grab my background panel and we're going to start with our August Fancy Cuts. And we're going to add our liquid adhesive to the back of this and then put it in the upper half of our card. It is definitely the prominent focal point of our design, and then the pup is going to be lounging in the pool right below this. And I think this is a really good visual of how that letter G gets lost in my color transition and what a difference it makes by adding that red marker over that and then blending over it with the blue so it looks like the tail of the G is underwater. I know I didn't share that on camera. I'm so sorry I didn't capture that on camera. It was kind of one of those last minute changes before I photographed the projects. So you will see it when I go back over all 3 cards at the end of this video. But it was very easy to do and I didn't have to redo anything. I also popped up my lounging pup with a couple of foam adhesive squares because we have so much dimension in the August fancy word die with the 4 layers. I felt like he needed to be popped up so he would lay correctly. And then we're just going to slide our enjoy a little pause greeting underneath that bottom edge of that to tie it all together. The final thing I'm going to do here is go in with a white pen and add some little highlight detail to not only my lounging pup, but elements of the August fancy word die. So just little bits of highlight on each letter and then the tops of the palm trees. And I'm just crazy about how the little palm tree works itself into the letter A and T, and then I blended it with some summery yellows and reds for a really bright, colorful greeting. We're going to place this panel then on our nautical panel, and then we're going to adhere this whole thing to a white top fold card base. And finally, I felt like I needed a little bit of a dimensional embellishment somewhere. And I wanted to do like a water droplet type of look. And I love these little clear heart accents. I think these are from Honeybee Stamps. And I added about 5 of these to my design. So there's going to be 3 up in the upper part of the card, a little one right here at the tail of the letter T, and then 1 centered underneath our phrase along the bottom of the card. And because they're clear, they give that water droplet look, but because they're hearts, I just love that shape, and I think it really adds a little something fun to the finished design. Next up, we have another card featuring lounging pups. Again, I know I mentioned this a little bit ago, but I absolutely adore this stamp set. I think it's fun. And this time I wanted to combine it with a different bold print background. The US map infinity dies are fantastic. And then the greetings from Stampin' Cut. I love this. So I think you guys are too. So phenomenal. Let's go ahead and start with our lounging pups. We're just going to color this in quickly. Again, yes, I kept with the same basic color scheme throughout. So we're using our same blue markers for the hammock. We're going to use a little neutrals for our pup in the hammock. I did go a little lighter with him. I pulled in some E53 with my E55 and 57. The stakes holding up the hammock are going to be E55 and E57. And his book is going to be in shades of red. There are 2 little grass pieces. There's 1 grass piece in the stamp set. I stamped it twice and colored it in twice and colored it in with some green markers. That's YG 25 and 17. Perfect to just kind of ground our hammock image on a busy background. I think that really works great for this. And starting with those little bit lighter colors for this pup. I went a little lighter here. The US Map Infinity die cut is going to be from a Hero Arts kind of craft colored cardstock, which is a little bit darker brown. I'm going to ink up the edges. So I really wanted to go lighter with the pup. And then that nice little pop of red for the book he's reading will tie nicely back in to the heart accent we're going to add. And custom coloring in the word greetings, that die cut there. Much like we just did with the August fancy word die, we are going to custom color in the greetings sentiment with our Copic markers. We're also going to add 4 layers to give it a little bit more of a substantial look on our card design. And I'll show you that here in just a second. So I did go ahead and die cut the greetings from Stampin' Cut. from some Nina Smooth White cardstock. We're going to use our red markers to give an ombre effect of R35 to R37 to R59. Definitely a rich, bold red color that is going to show up on our card. My whole goal with my sentiment was I want this to be really nice and bold and really make a nice impact when layered over our US map infinity die cut. This is fairly delicate. If you don't want to stack your die cuts one on top of another, that's kind of fussy, you can always adhere your cardstock to Fun Foam with some stick-it adhesive. That's going to make it dimensional. And just having it die cut from that more dimensional material will make it a little bit more stable, and it'll stick also in what you die cut it from, so you can color it in a little easier. If I had to do it again, I might have done it that way just because it does make it a little bit easier for coloring in that sentiment. This is the Destination Home bold prints background. And I don't know if you can tell in the video, but some of the luggage tags say sofa sitter, staycation, time for rosé, destination sleep in, destination home. Just so super cute. I think especially for the time that we're in right now, there is a lot of staycations going on. It just works really well, and I think it's a fantastic background. This is another one that I would love to see the individual tags colored in. So if you guys want to see that, please drop me a note down below and say, yes, I'd like to see some ideas for coloring in background stamps, or, you know, no, I don't want to see that, whatever the case may be. Around the edges, I added the Hero Arts Sea Salt Reactive ink first, and then Blue Hawaii. So this is a little different than the last card. I wanted to deepen and darken the edges of this panel a little bit more. It's very similar to the last one, but it does make a little bit of a difference. When next to each other, the first card is much, much lighter, and this one has a little bit more of that darker effect. We're going to stamp Your Biggest Fan from the Greetings From stamp set on nautical cardstock using clear embossing and watermark ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. All of the greetings here are from the Greetings From Stamp and Cut. We're just using the die cut. We're using a little phrase that we're going to then die cut with a Simon Says Stamp sentiment labels die, and then we're going to use the scripty from, also from that Greetings From Stamp and Cut, and stamp that directly on our US map infinity die cut with clear embossing ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder. I like how the United States there becomes the sentiment where all of our greetings overlap this in some way. We have our components now. It's time to start putting this card all together. I did decide to keep this background slightly bigger than our last one. Oh, and I did forget to mention really quick, I did ink up the edges of my US with Cup of Joe ink and a blending brush. That's just going to deepen and darken that a little bit. The background is going to measure 4 inches by 5 1/4, and we're going to mount it on an A2 size panel of nautical cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. There won't be a white border around this one. Want to make sure that any of that ink that might be sitting on top of the embossing, I'm buffing off. We want to look at our placement, and then we're going to start putting it together. Starting with our US map. And then there are a whole bunch of cute little icons in the US map infinity dies. I'm going to use a heart from that, but there's an arrow and like the little geotag. So some different options there. Stars as well. And I colored just a little swatch of cardstock, and then I'm going to die cut that instead of trying to color these teeny tiny die cut pieces. I'm gluing the map down, then our lounging pup is going right below that, the 2 tufts of grass, and then we're going to layer on all of our sentiments. Some craft tweezers come in really handy if you need help holding things down while waiting for liquid glue to dry, like I'm doing here with the little grass pieces. I put foam adhesive on the back of Your Biggest Fan phrase, and then we're going to adhere that. We're going to glue the greetings one on top of another, just like we did for the August Fancy word die. Again, using that fine tip applicator comes in so handy. Look at that nice bold red sentiment, ties into the book perfectly, and then our little heart we're going to add. Now the hearts ended up being a little too light. I'm just showing you some different options here. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and adhere it to my card. And really carefully, I'm going to take my markers and darken that up with R59 and R37. R35 was just too light. You can definitely see the difference between the book, the word greetings, and that original heart, but darkened it looks so much better. And then we're going to finish with some of those little clear crystal heart accents again. For our final card today, we are going to be using that birdhouse fancy die and also the greetings stamp and cut again, because I think I already mentioned this, but I love that stamp and cut. I think it's phenomenal. I love a good scripty die cut word with phrases that you can mix and match for lots of different occasions. So here is the next card we're creating. Again, another new bold prints background. And I love the name of this one. So we'll get to that here in a minute. Let's go ahead and die cut our birdhouse fancy cut. I die cut everything. I didn't even cut apart my dies from smooth white cardstock, and we're going to color them in with Copic markers. To give this a little dimension as well, I will tell you that the birdhouse and the stand only, just those 2 dies, not the roof and not the bird, and we're going to die cut those 3 more times, just like we've done for the sentiments on the past 2 cards, and glue them one on top of another. It just gives it more of a chipboard type of feel, and I like how it's much sturdier and much bolder against a stamped background. All of the same colors are being used. Going a little different direction with my greeting this time. And I actually am I love how it turned out. I did a 2-tone blend for my greetings stamp and cut. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We'll get there in a second. But I love it. And it's going to tie into our bird. So our bird here is going to be colored with blues and yellows. We're going to use B34 and 37 with YR31 and 23. Throw in a little dark browns for the feet, for the beak. But the belly is really yellow, and I kept it that way, and then I'm going to take my lightest blue marker and kind of go over that section. So the yellow still peeks through, but it's much more muted. This time we have a center panel that measures 3.5 inches by 5.5. So it's going to be a strip down the center of our top fold card base. This is the Cation bold prints background. I love the name of this. I think that's so cute and clever. Instead of Staycation, we've got our Cation. Great stamp that has all of our states on it. Again, stamping with clear embossing ink, heat embossing with white embossing powder. We're going to go in with our sea salt and blue Hawaii reactive inks around the edges, mount this on a piece of nautical cardstock, and then this is going to be in a strip down the center of our white top fold card base. So a little bit different background, and I picked this background purposely because we have a tall, skinny design down the center of our card. So I thought this particular kind of layout worked really nice for this card. We're gluing our house one on top of another and finishing with our nice little roof there. We're going to do the birdhouse stand, 4 layers again. We're going to glue our little bird right there, standing on the edge of the little birdhouse. And then the circle, I forgot to mention that as I was coloring. The circle from the inside of the birdhouse, I colored with my darkest brown marker. And we're not going to stack anything on that. We're just going to inlay that inside the birdhouse to give it that depth and dimension. I started to mention this a little bit ago, but we're going to make the greetings from the greetings Stamp and Cut, greetings from Stamp and Cut, an ombre of yellow to blue to mimic the look of the bird. And I think this is going to show up a lot nicer against the red birdhouse. I was contemplating, you know, going all navy blue, but I really like how it looks with the yellow and blue together. Does take a little bit more effort to get that nice blend, but I didn't worry about it too much. I just kind of got that color on there, pulled the yellow down a little bit further to have it blend a bit more, and then we're just going to stack those one on top of another and lay it across the top of the birdhouse. And then we are going to put some foam adhesive underneath the phrase and pop it up right there kind of at the base of our birdhouse stand. Go in with a white pen and add detail here and there for some nice little highlights. We're going to finish this card too with some of those little clear heart accents. I think about 4 of them. One there, almost like, to me it was almost like little music notes coming out of the bird, like he's singing, but just those nice little heart accents. So they're really, because they're clear, they do add a nice little touch, but they're not super bold. I like that they're so subtle. Let's take a look at all 3 cards that I created with My Monthly Hero August 2020 add-ons. We have our Birdhouse Fancy Cut Die card with that STAYCATION bold prints background. We have this great luggage tag background with our Lounging Pup and US Map Infinity die, and our August Fancy die with that pool party background. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these 3 Staycation themed cards featuring Hero Arts stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Hero Arts products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.